You think you know what a dangerous lake looks like. Dark water, hidden depths, strong currents. You are thinking about the wrong things entirely. The most dangerous lake in human history looked perfectly calm. It sat in a quiet valley in Cameroon, surrounded by farms and small villages. And on one night in 1986, without any warning anyone could have read, it killed 1,700 people while they slept. The lake did not flood. It did not overflow. It breathed. And once you understand what it did that night, you will never look at still water the same way again. The lake is called Nyos. It sits in the crater of a dormant volcano in the northwest highlands of Cameroon, about 1,200 meters above sea level. From the surface, it is beautiful, deep blue, perfectly still, the kind of lake you would photograph. But underneath that surface, something had been building for a very long time. The volcano beneath Lake Nyos is not dead. It is sleeping, and as it sleeps, it bleeds carbon dioxide up through cracks in the lake floor, slowly, continuously, year after year. In most lakes, this would not matter. Carbon dioxide rises, it hits the surface and escapes into the air. The lake breathes it out naturally. But Lake Nyos is not like most lakes. It is deep, over 200 meters in places. And the deeper the water, the more pressure it carries. Pressure that can hold gas dissolved inside it, the same way pressure holds the bubbles inside a bottle of soda. For years, possibly decades, the deep water of Lake Nyos had been quietly absorbing more carbon dioxide than it could safely hold. The lake was a bottle. Someone was about to shake it. On the night of August 21st, 1986, something disturbed the deep water. A landslide along the bank, a small earthquake, possibly just a shift in temperature. Nobody knows exactly what triggered it. What they know is what happened next. The deep water rose, and as it rose, the pressure on it dropped. The carbon dioxide that had been held inside it for years was suddenly free. It did not drift. It did not disperse. It erupted. Estimates suggest somewhere between 1 and 1.6 cubic kilometers of gas burst from the surface in a single event. A column of water and foam shot 80 meters into the air. And then the gas did something water does. It ran downhill. Carbon dioxide is heavier than air. It does not rise and scatter. It flows. It pooled in the low points of the valley, rolling down the hillsides like an invisible flood, filling every hollow, every dip in the road, every room in every house. The village of Nyos, 800 people, was less than 2 kilometers away. It took minutes. There was no warning anyone could have survived long enough to give. Carbon dioxide in high concentration does not smell. It does not burn. It does not sting your eyes. It simply replaces the oxygen around you in your body with no drama at all. Stops. Most of the 1,700 people who died that night died in their sleep. The ones who were awake had time to notice something was wrong. A strange smell, like gunpowder or rotten eggs, from the hydrogen sulfide mixed in with the gas. A sudden warmth. Then nothing. Some survivors described waking up hours later, surrounded by bodies, not understanding at first that they were the only ones still breathing. One man woke in his house and walked outside and found his entire village dead. His family, his neighbors, every single person he knew, gone in the same hour, without a sound. Cattle died standing up. Birds fell from the trees. Insects vanished. The gas was so thorough that for kilometers in every direction, the valley held nothing alive. And then, by the following morning, it was gone. Dispersed into the upper atmosphere, the lake sat blue and still again, as if nothing had happened. The first people to raise the alarm were not scientists. They were the survivors themselves, stumbling out of the valley on foot to find help in the nearest town. What they described made no sense to anyone who heard it. A lake, a sound like an explosion but softer, a smell, then everyone dead. It took days for the outside world to fully understand what it was looking at. Cameroon's government called for international assistance. French and American scientists arrived within the week, and what they found stopped them. Not the bodies, the silence. A valley that had held thousands of people and animals was almost completely still. Crops still standing in the fields, pots still on cooking fires that had long gone cold. The ordinary wreckage of a normal evening frozen exactly where it had been when the gas arrived. The scientists had no category for it, no protocol, no precedent. They had to build the explanation from the ground up, working backwards from the dead to understand what had killed them. It took weeks to confirm what had happened, and when they finally published their findings, they had to invent a term for it. A limnic eruption, a word that had never existed before because the event itself had never been documented, not once, in all of recorded human history. The survivors, meanwhile, were relocated to temporary shelters kilometers from the lake. Most of them had lost everything, not just family, not just neighbors, but the specific texture of a life that had been built in that valley over generations. Some of them went back anyway. You cannot legislate grief. And human beings, it turns out, are not good at staying away from the places that made them, even when those places have already shown them exactly what they are capable of. The scientists who stayed kept asking the question that still does not have a fully comfortable answer. Could it happen again? The answer is yes. Not might. Not possibly. Yes. Lake Nyos is still there. The volcano beneath it is still sleeping, still bleeding carbon dioxide into the deep water. And despite a system of pipes now running into the lake, designed to slowly bleed the pressure off before it builds again, the lake today still holds enough dissolved gas to kill everyone within range if something went wrong on the wrong night. The pipes help. They are not a solution. They are a delay. And then there is the lake that almost no one outside the scientific community talks about at all. Lake Kivu. On the border of Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo, it sits above the same kind of volcanic geology as Lake Nyos, fed by the same slow bleed of carbon dioxide from below, accumulating the same pressure, following the same quiet logic. It is 2,000 times larger than Lake Nyos. Approximately 2 million people live on its shores. Scientists have been monitoring Lake Kivu for decades, measuring the dissolved gas concentrations, tracking the rate of accumulation, running the models. The models are not reassuring. A limnic eruption at Lake Kivu's scale would not kill a valley. It would empty a region. The gas cloud would be measured not in kilometers, but in the distance it could travel before it thinned enough to let something breathe. This is not a fringe concern. It is in the published literature. It is in the monitoring reports. It is known. And 2 million people go about their lives next to that lake because what else would they do? Nobody told them to leave. Nobody is building them somewhere else to go. Knowing something is dangerous and doing something about it are two very different things. They always have been. Here is the thing about the way we think about natural disasters. We imagine them loud. We picture walls of water, cracking ground, the sky on fire. We do not picture stillness. We do not picture a blue lake on a quiet night doing something invisible while the valley below it sleeps. But the most dangerous forces in the natural world are not always the ones you can see coming. Some of them have been building quietly for longer than any human settlement nearby has existed. Patient in a way that has nothing to do with intention, just pressure and time, and the moment when the balance tips. Lake Nyos had been a lake for thousands of years before the first person built a house near its shore. The people who died there in 1986 did nothing wrong. They simply lived in the wrong valley on the night the balance finally broke. That is the part of natural disasters that the loud ones let us forget. The earthquake gives you a shaking ground to fear. The hurricane gives you a sky to read. But some disasters give you nothing. No signal, no warning, no time. Just a morning that does not come for the people who needed it most.